Chapter 10 of that novel. On page 128, in the Pickwick portfolio, there is no period after "it is nearly school time" in Anne Winkle's letter. This period was also missing on page 151 of the 1869 novel. The missing period was intentional. On page 135, the ambiguous punctuation after "oh, dear, no" is an exclamation point. See page 160 of the 1869 novel. On page 146, change buttonholes to buttonholes. On page 173 of the 1869 novel, this word was hyphenated and split between two lines for spacing. There were 7 other occurrences of buttonhole or buttonholes in the novel. We therefore used the hyphen. On page 150, Betty was replaced with Bethy. This error was also made in the 1869 novel. See page 177. The character addressed is Beth. On page 158, a period was added after "still kneeling." See page 187 of the 1869 novel. On page 160, Harda Lee is spelled the same way in the 1869 novel. See page 189, and this novel. We left this as is. On page 166, a comma was added after Meg and Meg obediently following. See page 195 of the 1869 book. On page 185, receptacle was replaced with receptacle. See page 217 of the 1869 novel. On page 185, transcribe doorway with the hyphen. See page 217 of the 1869 novel. Also, change doorway to doorway a few lines down the same page. See page 218 of the 1869 novel. On page 189, the comma after "published every day" was replaced with a period. See page 225 of 1869 book. On page 198, the clause, "Beth, go and ask Mr. Lawrence for a couple of bottles of old wine," was written as it appeared in the 1896 novel. The clause ended in with a semicolon in the 1869 book. See page 234. On page 200, change needlework to needlework. See page 236 of the 1869 novel. On page 209, turnovers was replaced with turnovers. See page 246 of the 1869 novel. On page 214, the single quotation mark before "head nurse of ward" was replaced with a double quotation mark. See page 252 of the 1869 novel. On page 218, "years ago" was replaced with "years ago." See page 257 of the 1869 novel. On page 219, "ask him so help" was replaced with "ask him to help." See page 257 of the 1869 novel. On page 219, add period after "give it to her." See page 258 of the 1869 novel. On page 230, 2 a.m. is spelled the same way, with the comma, in this book and in the 1869 novel. On page 272, the comma was retained. On page 244, postscripts was replaced with postscripts. See page 287 of the 1869 novel. On page 279, place exclamation point after "won't" and "no, I won't." See page 329 in the 1869 novel. On page 286, actingly was replaced with acting. See page 337 of the 1869 novel. On page 288, add comma after mankind in the clause "who felt at peace with all mankind, even his mischievous pupil." See page 339 of the 1869 novel. On page 294, transcribed gray-headed with the hyphen. See page 5 of the 1869 novel. On page 295, add a comma after salary in the phrase, with an honestly earned salary. See page 7 of the 1869 book. Check the clause, but once get used to these slight blemishes on page 297. The sentence appears the same way on page 10 of the 1869 novel. Check the clause, people who hire all these things done for them never know what they lose on page 298. The sentence has a comma after them, but is otherwise written the same way on page 11 of the 1869 novel. On page 299, transcribe door handles with the hyphen. See page 13 of the 1869 novel. On page 339, shortcomings was replaced with shortcomings. See page 62 of the 1869 novel. On page 345, furbelows and notions was written furbelows and Quinny Dingles in the 1869 novel. See page 59 of the 1869 novel. We made no change, and only point this out because Quinny Dingles is such a memorable word that those intimate with the novel may notice the change. On page 353, change snowbank to snowbank. See page 79 of the 1869 novel. On page 363, a double quotation mark was added before crosspatch, draw the latch. See page 91 of the 1869 book. On page 379, change period after Joe to a comma in the clause as for Joe. She would have gone up. See page 109 of the 1869 book. On page 380, a comma was added after all lying down. See page 111 of the 1869 book. On page 393, the punctuation after but so was everybody's is difficult to read. It could be a colon or semicolon. In the 1869 novel, the mark is a semicolon, see page 126. We used the semicolon. On page 396, the second line of the verse, beginning without upon you, is indented. In the 1869 version, the capital B of bold-faced jig is lined up under out. We aligned the verse as the 1869 version of the novel. See page 131. On page 404, add period after heaviness. See page 140 of the 1869 novel. On page 405, transcribe needlework with the hyphen. See page 141 of the 1869 book. On page 411, a letter is curiously addressed to Betsy, both here and on page 148 of the 1869 book. On page 413, removed double quotes around yes in yes, they say to one another, these so kind ladies. Instead, place a single quote in front of yes, because Bear is resuming his quote. The resumed quote concludes with a single quote after me and mine. See page 151 of the 1869 novel. The double quote before he is a stupid old fellow is actually a triple-nested quote, ending in make themselves. On page 417, transcribe teddyism as teddyism. See page 155 of the 1869 novel. On page 451, a period was added after I can't let you go. See page 196 of the 1869 novel. On page 463, tarantula was used as the name of a dance, but the author might have meant tarantella, which is the name of an Italian dance about tarantulas. On page 468, transcribe chessboard with the hyphen. See page 218 of the 1869 novel. On page 512, a period was added after she said softly. If you see page 272 of the 1869 novel, you will also notice a comma in she said softly. We added the period but not the comma. On page 514, the 1869 novel did not have a comma after or in the sentence. I'm not tired, but you may take an or, if you like. See page 525 of the 1869 novel. We did not remove the comma. On page 527, the best Nevi was replaced with the best Nevi. On page 527, change he to the end like Jenny and he ballad. See page 291 of the 1869 novel. On page 531, David and Peggotty refer to two characters from the novel. David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. On page 534, change of to off in the clause, Daisy found it impossible to keep her eyes of her pitty auntie. See page 300 of the 1869 novel. On page 541, Knowst thou the land where the citron blooms, was broken into two stanzas in the book for spacing. We transcribed this as one line. See page 308 in 1869 novel. On page 551, transcribe dovecote with the hyphen. See page 319 of the 1869 novel. On the first page of ads, a period was added after the Little Women series. New Illustrated Edition. On the second page of ads, in the blurb for the book Comic Tragedies, a period is placed after portraits, etc. After the novel is a list of the works of Louisa May Alcott. The list is not complete. For example, there are no listings for her work as Flora Fairfield or A.M. Barnard. Nevertheless, the pages are a fine, structured outline of Ms. Alcott's best work. Most of the novels and stories in these 4 pages are published by Project Gutenberg. We included links to these titles for the reader's convenience. A change had to be made for one item. We had to list each of the 3 volumes of Lulu's library to provide the links to that book. These links will only work in the HTML document. The final page is a listing of 11 stories originally published in other volumes, such as Joe's Scrap Bag, Lulu's Library, and A Garland for Girls. These works were subsequently published separately in small volumes, generally less than 100 pages, in the Children's Friends series.